Maybe we should try a real YouTuber intro today, ready? What's going on, guys? Don't forget to smash. So I really do hope your day is an absolute peach today. So I've been kind of meandering through my junk as I often do, and I found that since I have both the Lego minifigure version and the Funko Pop Vinyl version of the Star Wars Sith Jet Trooper, it presented a nice opportunity to kind of compare the two and compare the company's recreations of these actual characters. Or I guess I should say this actual character, since they're both recreating the same thing. Now, obviously both companies have their stylistic choices and the liberties they take to recreate the character, things like accuracy and, the way they kind of transform the character into their own style to fit into, a Lego set's needs or a Funko Pop's needs. And then there's things like quality control and how accurate some details are to the movies and things like that. So by no means is this like Lego is better than Funko is better than this and this. It's just kind of a cool comparison to see, what do these characters actually look like when compared to what they appeared like in the show, and what does Lego kind of do to create their characters? What does Funko do differently? And yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. So let's just hop over to a nice table angle and take a look at these in some detail. So I think a good place to start is just a comparison of the Funko Pop version to what you actually see in the show and the actual character itself, and then we'll move on to the Lego one and at the end kind of compare the pros and cons of each. And obviously they serve very different purposes. The Lego figure obviously coming in a buildable Lego set that is, a whole piece in itself, whereas the Funko is all you get. You just get the character, and obviously it's gonna work towards the character a little bit better, but regardless it'll be an interesting comparison. So let's see what the Funko Pop has going for it. The first thing I noticed in the actual character is kind of how bulky that chest is, and obviously Funko has this cute little chubby version style of the character, which across all of its characters it has those big beady eyes, not this one doesn't have eyes, but in general the big beady eyes, the chubby legs, the chubby torso, and kind of that cute look to it, which I think does take a little bit away from the menacingness of the Sith Jet Trooper. As you can see in the picture, it's definitely a lot top heavier if we're not including the big head, but the actual character is a lot bulkier in the chest, and I think Funko doesn't do as well with, threatening auras, if we can put it that way. Now, the amount of detail in this figure, from the jetpack to the weapon and things like that, as you can see in some of the pictures here, the weapon is pretty much a spot-on recreation, and those are just details that you're not going to get in a Lego minifigure. I'm hoping I'm able to keep them in focus, but the camera does kind of keep wanting to jump around, but hopefully we'll give you a good 360 look, and you can see something like the jetpack as well. If we look at kind of a side view of the character, good recreation in terms of the angles and things like that, and that's what you're going to get with Funko, is a much more accurate recreation of the character, whereas something like a Lego figure, is meant to get the idea across and not the little details. One thing I notice with Funko figures often is something like, I don't know how well you can see kind of the extra plastic underneath the hand there. Their quality control is a little bit lacking in some areas, so my version of this character might be a teeny weeny bit different than yours, with some differences in plastic molding and things like that, but nothing that takes away from the character as a whole. I think the Funko achieved the armor look very well, because as you can see by some of the actual photos next to it here, the armor look is very evident on the character itself, like the black undertones like around the things like the knees and kind of like the groin area, and then the elbows, things like that. It's all really comes together really nice in the Funko Pop, and it kind of makes you feel like, yes, this is a character wearing like some heavy armor. And in terms of recreating that aspect of the character, I think Funko's done a fantastic job. Of course, the helmet shape and all the things like that are going to be great with Funko, and that really is like, it's the detail and the transformation into their style that you're really going to get with Funko figures over something like a Lego minifigure, and I really like that. obviously their stylistic choice to kind of convert any character into this fun chubby look goes better with some things than others, and if you want like a menacing character to display, this just ain't it. But overall, of course, Funko is able to recreate the look very well, as we all, I'm sure, expected. And yeah, really love this figure, and let's see how the Lego recreation looks. Now, the first thing you'll notice about the Lego figure version of this Sith Jet Trooper is, of course, this big, bulky, hair dryer, stud shooter gun, which, of course, draws zero resemblance to what you would see in the actual character. But of course, Lego does take some steps towards making their characters like play with a bull. So this is an actual like stud shooter gun that you'll never find that stud again. But you can see, of course, with a character like this, they take some steps towards making it fun for kids to play with. And that is why some of the detail that you'd like to have in a character like this just won't come through with Lego. I definitely think in terms of being in the world of Lego, the minifigure here does recreate that kind of menacing look a lot better than the Funko figure in the Funko space. You know, Lego doesn't always, even though it is like a toy per se, it doesn't need to like convert everything into a character to make it look like more kid friendly and like happy and lovely. It does take some of the, you know, the harsher angles seen in the character and the armor and things like that, and it keeps that menacing look, which I like. So when you compare it to the average minifigure, you know, this one looks more like a bad guy, which is good. You can see the insignia, which is printed on the Lego figure, is a very nice recreation. So Lego is able to get a lot of those little details in there where they so choose, but obviously they make a lot more choices with which to include rather than Funko, which is basically trying to directly recreate the character. One thing that I don't love too much about the Lego figure, which of course comes with the fact that there's such a limited shape they're working with. You mean Funko can mold any shape they want, but Lego is working with this minifigure shape, and I don't find they recreate that armor look super well on this figure. It kind of just looks like, you know, a solid red guy with black accents rather than, you know, a guy wearing a nice set of armor. Lego does get a point for consistency though, often with their prints and their characters and their quality control. It is almost absolutely perfect all the time. Now you will get some prints sometimes that are misaligned, but for the most part, any figure that you buy that is the Sith Jet Trooper is going to look the exact same. So I guess that's a point if we're keeping track towards Lego and their quality control, if we're comparing Lego to Funko as a character recreation company. We can have a full little 360 here, and of course there are choices made such as the size and the coloring of the jetpack that just aren't possible to recreate perfectly in Lego, and I think that's fine because again, you want it to feel still like a Lego figure and like it belongs in the space rather than, oh, we made a mini version of this character but it doesn't look like it fits in anywhere. Now that you've been able to see and hopefully compare the characters to the way they appeared in the movie, I ask you, what do you prefer? What do you like better as a recreation? Obviously, some people might like that Funko chubby style and, you know, they were able to convert a menacing character into a nice little display desk piece, Funko was, but some people might say, oh, you know, I like that in the Lego minifigure space, the character still looks menacing, and even though they aren't able to achieve as many of the details, I like the recreation of that character. Again, it's hard to compare two things that are so different, but I thought it was fun to see, oh, you know, how does this look compared to what the character actually looked like, and comparing Funko to Lego is kind of a fun comparison to make. I guess I'll leave you with that. Who did it better? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're a Lego fan or a Funko fan or a nice mix of both like myself. And with that, I will send you on your way with one last little head wiggle, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned for whatever else we come up with. Later.